The Grand Western Front against Moscow is beginning to crack. What was once billed as an ironclad unity over frozen Russian assets is now turning into a political minefield. From Brussels to Washington, voices of dissent are getting louder and harder to ignore.
I heard a Belgian journalist on television say, "Oh, I have the impression that for Putin this money is already written off." I do not have that impression. This is not exactly what we hear from Moscow. Moscow has told us that if we touch the money, we would feel the consequences until eternity, which seems to be a long time, eternity. So they will do countermeasures. That seems to be very logical.
In Europe, the divide is widening fast. While European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen urges more pressure, others warn it's backfiring, draining economies and morale alike.
We had a good discussion on the reparations loan to be financed with immobilized Russian assets, and it allowed us to identify points we still need to clarify, and then indeed we will come back with the different options that we will develop. Let me underline again, we will always respect European and international law while we are taking this work forward that we've just described.
But unity is exactly what's missing. Hungary's Viktor Orban and Belgium's Prime Minister are openly questioning whether punishing Moscow endlessly serves any real peace. Their concern? Europe is sabotaging itself for Washington's failed gamble.
The only problem here is that the Europeans have declared the Russian president a war criminal, and they have a problem meeting him. If you do something, there are consequences. The U.S. president has never done anything like this, so he can meet with the Russian president at any time.
Well, I'm looking forward to the discussion on the immobilized assets, not the frozen assets. There's a big difference, the sovereign assets. There's the idea of confiscating them to give them to Ukraine. I'm looking for the legal basis for this decision. This is not a detail. Even during the Second World War, immobilized assets were never touched. So this is a very important step if we would like to take it. We have three demands. I want a full mutualization of the risk, because there is a big risk. We will suffer from enormous claims. So if we want to do this, we will have to do this all together. We want guarantees if the money has to be paid back, that every member state will chip in. The consequences cannot only be for Belgium. And the third demand is that every country who has immobilized assets moves together with us.
From Brussels corridors to Washington's back rooms, patience is wearing thin. Officials admit Ukraine fatigue is real, and priorities are shifting east to Asia and the Pacific. That leaves Europe carrying both the rhetoric and the bill, even as its unity unravels. Moscow calls it what it is: hypocrisy dressed as democracy. Lavrov says Europe's war managers have traded diplomacy for destruction and peace for obedience.
Those who are now trying to persuade our American colleagues to change their position and to abandon the pursuit of a long-term, sustainable settlement, urging instead to simply call for a halt and let history judge later. We know who they are. These are Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's European patrons and sponsors.
And yet, from Kyiv, defiance remains absolute. Zelensky continues to demand more weapons, more money, and no talk of compromise, as if endless escalation were the only plan left.
There is a political willingness in Europe to send frozen Russian assets to fully support Ukraine and Ukrainians. And yesterday, the European Council adopted a political decision. There is a clear format for the use of assets, and this format exists. We in Europe have now agreed that this format should be implemented by the end of the year.
But just as Brussels doubles down, Washington's message lands like a hammer, signaling the United States may no longer be on board with this endless funding experiment.
Mr.
Mr. President, should the EU use frozen Russian assets to help pay for defense of Ukraine?
I don't know. You have to ask EU. I'm not involved in that. That's up to EU.
Are you considering additional sanctions against Russia?
You'll find out.
What began as a united crusade to punish Russia now looks like a continental rift. The peace-minded see the war as endless, the hawks refuse to blink, and the frozen billions remain the clearest symbol of a West divided against itself.